given the background from where we come from, may not have had an encounter with a lawyer before. But in the U.S., if you are in the U.S., if you are listening to us in the U.S., then certainly you will or you may have had an encounter with a lawyer once or twice or many times, depending upon the situation in which you find yourself. Now, the question is, do I even need a lawyer? Do I even need a lawyer? When given myself, my situation, depending upon what it is, a lot of us come here in the U.S. and we listen to a lot of friends. We get a lot of advice. We get a lot of pocket lawyers who have been in the country for so long, and so they think that they know the law so much that sometimes when we come from Africa to the U.S. or some parts in Europe or Britain, then we will say, well, I don't even need a lawyer. Let me do it myself. And sometimes we may even be discouraged by others because of the money involved. But let's put the money even aside. But what you need is the end result. Will I get what I really need? Is this professional going to be able to help me? Again, the calling to the studio number is 301-221-5727. 301-221-5727. And I'm going to pose a question for our discussion here today. And the question is, do I need a lawyer? Do I need a lawyer? And so to our listeners, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you have any matter or issue that may be bothering you or that you may be facing, and you want to call in to this show, Legal Matters, to see whether you really need a lawyer or not, please feel free to call. Again, the number to the studio is 301-221-5727. Today is just a very general, broad discussion as to whether I need a lawyer. Sometimes your situation may be such that you say, well, I don't even need a lawyer for this. Let me go to court. Let me try to handle it myself. Let's take some examples. Yes, it depends whether you need a lawyer or not. But there are situations where you definitely would need a lawyer. Or when you go to court yourself, the judge will tell you, my brother, my sister, you go get yourself a lawyer. And there are also situations where, again, you might be able to defend or prosecute your matter yourself. But it's not all that easy because you don't know the rules of evidence. You don't know the law. You don't know what the rules of engagement are. You don't know what negotiation skills to apply. You just don't have any trial tactics or trial procedures to be able to help you to present your case. And especially when you've been to court or you are in court and your opposing side has a lawyer. No matter how good your case may be, no matter how strong evidence you may have, you may still be prejudiced. You may still be at a disadvantage because you will not be able to present the matter or your evidence in a way that is appropriate in the courtroom. And so the best thing is for you to go and get yourself some legal help. That will be your best situation. And sometimes the judges will even tell you, they will advise you that Mr. So and so, go and get yourself a lawyer. And I've seen this happen so many times in the courtroom. And it's so funny and it's so interesting that you may have a stronger case, but because you do not have a lawyer, you suddenly become disadvantaged because the other party has a lawyer who may have stronger, may have a stronger defense for his or her client. And so with the phone lines open, again, the question on the floor is, do I need a lawyer? And I'm going to start off with some scenarios. We all drive. We all drive, whether you are in the US, Europe, or wherever that you may be. But especially in the US here, I will talk because I am in the US. We all drive, and sometimes when you overspeed, or sometimes for one reason or another, the police may stop you and give you a traffic citation. Now, the traffic citation may be either to go and pay a fine, or you must appear in court. The question is, if I'm given a traffic citation for that matter, do I just pay the fine and just everything goes away? Or should I go to court and defend myself? Maybe the fine may be reduced. Maybe points may be waived on my driver's license for me. Maybe the police officer who gave me that citation may not show up in court. Maybe I may ask for a postponement because of some personal reasons. Or maybe I wouldn't go to court at all. Now, that is something that we can discuss. Another example, whether you need a lawyer or not. You may have been cited for some criminal matter, some battery, some assault, and you've been asked to come to court, and you fail to show up in court. For whatever reason, you fail to show up in court. Or even, let's take traffic citation. You were supposed to be in court, and you failed up to show up in court. And so what happens to you next? There is going to be a bench warrant for your arrest. And the question is, do I need a lawyer to help get me out of this bench warrant, to get me out of this situation? So what do I do? The phone line to call in into the studio is 301-221-5727. 301-221-5727. Okay. Now, we do have a question here. And the question is, I worked for a company for 8 days and decided it wasn't for me. The owner sued me for $2,500 because he claimed I didn't return documents in my possession on time. Is it a lie? Because it is a lie, because I returned the documents 48 hours after I left. Do I need a lawyer for that? It's a very good question. Again, not knowing all the facts, not knowing all that has transpired in that company, you may need a lawyer if the owner has sued you for $2,500 and you have proof that you did return those documents in your possession in a timely manner. And so you will have to defend yourself and present some evidence, some proof of return of those documents. In that case, again, you may or may not need a lawyer, but my advice would be, and again, there is a disclaimer. I'm putting up a disclaimer here because this Legal Matters show is just giving information. It's for informational purposes only, and not providing you with any legal advice. If you need any legal advice, I would highly recommend that you set up an appointment with a local attorney where they will certainly look at the facts of your case and properly provide you with legal counsel. But this show is for informational purposes only and not to give legal advice. We don't give legal advice on this show. You would need to consult with an attorney. That's a very, very good question, whether you need a lawyer for this matter. And as I said earlier on, whether you need a lawyer or not depends upon your matter. And so if you are not sure, then the best thing is just to consult with an attorney. It's very easy to seek legal advice. Sometimes they may give you free 30 minutes of consultation. And that would be all that you need. But I believe that it will be worth your while to really seek or consult with an attorney in your particular case, or in any case for that matter, so that they can better point you in the right direction. But having said that, let's go back to the question, do I need a lawyer? It depends. It depends. Again, when you have matters of concerning immigration, now you know that immigration is a very, very, very broad area. It's a very, very big area. And that it is difficult to navigate in immigration matters on your own, because you may not know the immigration law, and the laws are constantly changing. The laws are constantly changing. What it was a year ago, what the law was in a particular instance may be different now. The laws are constantly changing. And so you need to consult with a lawyer who will certainly be able to advise you of current laws, existing laws. Now, you may also say, well, there are a lot of people sometimes who may say, well, I can do it myself because this friend of mine, this person did it on their own. One thing you fail to understand is that each case is different. Each matter is different. Your friend's situation may be different from your situation. You may have come into this country or situation at the same time, but you are different. You have different backgrounds. You have different situations. Your circumstances may be totally different. And so it is advisable to certainly seek advice. And sometimes it may surprise you that when you look into it, when two of you think you may have the same issue, the same problems, but when you look into it, your background and your friend's background are totally different. Or the experience, your experience vis-a-vis your friend's experience maybe are totally different. And so you may not have the same result. Now, there's a question here that somebody asked. Okay. Do I need a divorce that is contested? In other words, do I need a lawyer for a contested divorce? Again, it is still depending upon the facts of your situation. You may have children involved in your marriage. You may have property involved in the marriage. There may be marital property. There may be so many other assets, especially if it is contested. Then you certainly may want to consult with an attorney. And another question is it okay to buy forms online? Well, that's a very interesting question. But my advice would be that online forms are not geared towards your particular situation. Each court, each jurisdiction has their own forms. They have their own instructions on how to complete these forms. Now, whether you may be in the small claims court, or you may be in a circuit court, or in a higher court of jurisdiction, I mean, some of these forms you don't buy online. You go to the court website, and sometimes you can get some of these forms online. I mean, from their website. Some of these forms also, you cannot even fill them online. You have to actually create them or use the court's own forms in order to be able to do and file the claims that you want to file. All right, thank you. And I believe that we will take one call on the air. All right, we are ready for you, caller.
Good evening, Zoelight.
Good evening.
My question is, in a personal injury case, when should I contact an attorney? Because sometimes when someone is involved in an accident, the person doesn't really know until a few days later how much the person is hurt and how serious the accident may be. So I want you to shed some light on it.
All right, thank you very much. I do appreciate that call. And I think it's very, very important that in an automobile accident case, again, I think it depends. There are some situations where you must determine who the at-fault party is, first of all. Now, let me break it down a little bit. In an automobile case, for example, you have your car, you have your insurance policy. The other driver also has their insurance policy. Now, assuming that it is not your fault, assuming that you are not the at-fault party, but the other driver is the at-fault party, then depending upon the injury, immediately you want to be able to get well. So you need to get to the hospital, see a doctor, call your insurance company, call the other driver's insurance company, report of the accident, and let them know that a claim will be filed. And so, having given both insurance companies, having put them on notice that this is what has happened and that you are going to be seeking legal counsel or you are going to hire an attorney to help you, then after you have reported the incident to both insurance companies, or you may not even have to report it to both insurance companies, but your lawyer can actually report the accident to both insurance companies on your behalf. And so when you consult an attorney, when an accident happens, then you give the attorney the insurance information so that they can contact the insurance companies and then be able to advise them that this is what has happened in this accident. The insurance company would want to do their own investigations to make sure that their insured is actually the at-fault party, so they can take liability for the accident. And so after that, after your attorney has contacted both insurance companies, and then they can walk you through as to what you do next, as to feathering up or going further to see a medical doctor, medical treatment, physical therapy, and all kinds of other medical treatments. So it is important that when an accident happens, well, one, you either contact the insurance companies on both sides yourself and let them know about the accident, or you can immediately contact a lawyer who will then contact the insurance companies on your behalf and file such claim. Thank you for your call. Now, we will go ahead and take a very, very short break. And when we come back, we will continue with legal matters on the topic, do I need a lawyer? Stay tuned.
This is Zoelight Radio.
And the phone number to call into the studio is 301-221-5727. 301-221-5727. We've talked as to the importance and the role that lawyers play in our society, and depending upon the kind of matter that you have would depend whether you really need a lawyer or not. But let me give another example again, whereby you may need or you would need a lawyer in such instance. So, for example, you have a business and you go to rent a space, and the space is leased in the name of the business, and you are not a lawyer. You are just a business person running your business in someone else's space. You've leased it for some time, and for some reason business went a little slow. You were unable to pay your rent, and you were evicted or you moved out of the space. So when you moved out, the business owes the landlord some money. The business owes the landlord some overdue rent. So the landlord takes you to court to try to collect on the unpaid rent. Now you have to appear in court. Because you, the individual person, is not the one who is being sued by the landlord. The business is being sued. Let's call the business ABC Company. And you are the owner of ABC Company. ABC Company is the defendant in this case. And John Doe is the landlord. So John Doe versus ABC Company. You go to court. You are not a lawyer. You don't have a lawyer. Certainly, you not being a lawyer, you cannot represent your own company. So in that case, even in Maryland, by law, a company has to be represented by a lawyer. And so you would need a lawyer in that case. There is no two ways around it. You would need a lawyer. But I also gave the example of a traffic citation where you've been ticketed, and the question is whether do I need a lawyer to pay my traffic citation? Do I need a lawyer to go to court? And this is very, very common. Now, the way I look at it is, if, for example, you drive for a living, you are a commercial driver, you need your license in order to drive to make a living, and you've been cited for traffic, there's a fine. Do you pay the fine or do you go to court? One may argue, or one may say that I'm going to pay the fine, so I don't have to go to court. You may be able to do that. And so you go and pay the fine. But one thing you may not know is that by paying the fine, that fine may come with certain points, like maybe 2 or 3 points, or maybe 4 points on your driving record or against your driver's license. And so you've gone to pay the fine, but at the same time, 4 points have been cited on your driving license. And you drive for a living. Your company, when you have any points, more than two, you are in serious trouble of losing your job because of the points that you have accumulated on your driver's license. You've accumulated 4 points because of this traffic citation. And you drive for a living. These days, with Uber and Lyft being so common in the US, and you have such points, the question is, how do you survive? Do you need a lawyer to help you to go to court to appeal this citation so that at least you may be able to get the points reduced so you don't lose your job and you can continue to work as a commercial driver? Simply because you pay the fine doesn't absolve you or doesn't free you or doesn't prevent the state from giving you any points when the points may be legitimate. So do you need a lawyer to help you? Or you can represent yourself in this case to go before a judge and plead your case. What do you do? Do you need a lawyer? Well, I'm going to leave that question open on the floor to see whether there are any callers who will want to chime in even as we discuss the role of lawyers in our society, or whether in a case like this, whether I do need a lawyer. There are so many other instances where I believe that one may need a lawyer in order to help them to navigate the complex U.S. legal system. And so, for today, we will wrap up. And having explained, having talked about the role of lawyers in our society, and whether there is a need at all for a lawyer in my particular case, depends on your particular case. But I would suggest that no matter what the case is, try to talk to a lawyer who will give you proper counsel, who will give you proper advice, who will give you some direction as to which way you should go. And I believe that it will serve you well. I'm not saying don't listen to your friends or your neighbors, but remember that they are not lawyers. They are not professionally trained. They don't know the law. They don't know what proper advice to give you in order to defend you or in order to advance your case. And so the proper source or the proper professional to give you such an advice would be a lawyer who is well trained and versed in the areas of law. I want to thank you for listening to the show entitled Law Matters. This is your host, Lawyer Kweku Ofori, and we will continue again next week at the same time. Thank you.